Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Keynotion's Global Effective Pricing and Revenue Management online experience. Together, today we're very honored to invite Ms. Stella Penso from Skyscanner, who's going to walk us through where pricing is standing, where disruptions take place. And Ms. Stella is a commercial and pricing leader, and today she has in store for us a very exciting deck on what's waiting for us, especially if you all like to travel. She is probably has the answer to what's going on in our minds lately as COVID is taking place. I'm pretty sure we all check the prices on that website, and I'm sure we are all looking forward to how to plan properly. And so the floor is yours, Stella.
Thank you very much, Ariana. Hello, everyone. I am currently holding this webinar from my home in Brighton by the southern coast. And my travel has definitely been disrupted. I work in Skyscanner's London office, and I haven't been to London. I think it's been 8 weeks now. So I know that travel disruption speaks to every single one of us. And I would like to share with you a slice of that view from a specific perspective. So I first like to put the context on the table, and you know what we're dealing with, what part of travel, and where Skyscanner is on that, on that landscape. And we've all been going through a shock. So it will be very good to just summarize sort of what happened. And everything that has happened will affect and redraw the rules of pricing from scratch. I'd like to also then share with you what the aftermath is, like what are we seeing, what are the expectations. And for personal and professional reasons, there's a big question like what will happen to travel prices. Of course, none of us know because we're still in the vortex of the eye of the storm, and we don't know how many storms we're going to experience. So this is it's a question mark. But I do have some data to share. How meaningful it is a question mark. I think the better question is actually how can pricing teams prepare? Because this, the shock and the shock aftermath, this period that we're in is a great opportunity to prepare and to decide what we can do better to be able to withstand future shocks. So, but first I want to share a little bit about myself. Let me just hide this part. This is not such a recent picture of me, but this is still pretty much me. I have 20 years of pricing, revenue management, and commercial strategy experience. What is sort of interesting is I have always been in mobile. So it's always been either mobile telecom or apps. It's always mobile. And I have never been involved in the pricing of anything that's physical. It's always been service or digital. My three industries are travel, mobility, and telecom during this 20-year period. And I'm actually very new to travel. I joined Skyscanner in January. And before that, I was for a few years in mobility, in ride-hailing, and actually moved to the UK from Dubai after several years of living there, and I was part of the Careem growth story. And before that, it was 15 years of mobile telecom. And before that, some other very interesting stuff, such as economic litigation consulting, international development. So I think it's such a interesting position to be in, to have joined Skyscanner and the travel industry just as COVID was hitting the news mid-January. And my first experience of the industry is actually going through this disruption. So in a professional sense, it's extremely valuable and interesting. Although, of course, on the personal front, you know, there's a lot of tragedy in, you know, parts of everyone's life. All sources are at the end of the deck and on some slides. No opinion belongs to Skyscanner unless otherwise noted on a particular page. So this is a sharing from me. And at the end of the deck, I'd love to get your thoughts, your questions, what you're seeing in your own industries, and really make it a conversation that would be very enjoyable for me. So moving along. So travel, as we all know, it spans across industries. But when you put it in this way, it's a very, very crowded space, and the upstream, downstream, the interconnections, it's incredible. So we have transport. This transport space, we have the accommodation space with hotels, hostels, camps, B&B, cruises, etc. And then we have the let's say the eating part, restaurants, catering, clubs, bars, cafes, and then the entertainment. Then we have the related industries and participants, such as online travel agencies, tour operators, and travel agents, that sort of facilitate this link between, you know, supply and demand. But on the other side, so they're enablers, facilitators, and on the other side, we have financial services, tourism organizations, and meta search companies. Every piece of this picture has, of course, been disrupted. So where is Skyscanner on this picture? Just for those of you, you know, that are not aware, Skyscanner has been a meta search company. It was one of the first in that space, and it actually covers half of the space. It surfaces a considerable cross-section of this travel spectrum to travelers: flights, hotels, hostels, and cars. And in our website, actually, if you're familiar, you see flights, hotels, and cars. You know, that's it. It's not the other section. So, you know, I am much more connected to the flight space, and this presentation is not about travel pricing, and, you know, because it would be we'd be together the whole day. It's about flight pricing. So just some pre-COVID numbers about Skyscanner, only because I'm from there, and that's where I'm getting my travel experience. It has had, so all numbers pre-COVID, 100 million monthly active users, and 60 million users actually, they type Skyscanner, so they visit the website directly without going through Google or other, you know, search spaces. 90% of our app installs are organic, and 70 to 80% of installs are from Skyscanner branded search. On our platform, we have 1,200 providers, And 1,200 providers, while it may sound like a lot, it's actually, I was looking up for this webinar, in transportation, no, not in transportation, in flights only, there are 27,000 providers. And hotels, the space, hotels accommodation, it's based on this one source, which is in the deck, it's 600,000 providers. So anyway, we have 1,200 providers, and it's still a big chunk in terms of 100 million monthly active users. In 2019, 172 million flight passengers flew through Skyscanner. So that's what we have facilitated basically, and 1.2 million accommodation options. So that's the space. So the focus of this deck is on flights, because what we are noticing, you know, from our observations and, you know, from the industry, is that hotels are expected to, the accommodation space is expected to recover more smoothly and more quickly. And it's the flight space that's truly disrupted. So travel revenue is in the, you know, it's in the trillions, and just flights and hotels, hostels, like this space together is 2 trillion. The expectation for flights in terms of 2020 is that it will lose close to 50% of its revenue. So there's a number that's being pronounced as $340 billion of lost revenue for 2020. You know, it's almost impossible. It's like a full-time job to keep track of what's happening, especially in the aviation sector. Like there are 20 pieces of news at least every single day. You know, I follow the Financial Times, and it's just like one piece of news after another. Some are good, but most of them are, you know, not so good. And there are many many estimates around when it's going to recover. It really varies, and some say several years, sometimes some say 3 or 4 years. So just the 2020 impact is estimated to be this much. Maybe these are some familiar trend line charts, but I'd still like to share with you, for us to just really see with our eyes what the disruption looks like. Not many charts, just some core ones. This is from 1985 until 2020, and basically passenger volume dropped by 50% almost overnight. When we look at the previous crises, the Gulf War, Asian financial crisis, 9/11, etc., we just see some stalling. You know, it's just it's like a lull, and then, you know, it continues growing again, maybe a bit slow. And the last several years, we do see a steeper expansion of travel, of the passenger, you know, audience. So this drop is it's industry shaping, and we're all going to see how it gets shaped, you know, in the coming months, and I'll share with you some trends that we're seeing. It's also worth noting how flights have tanked by about, the average is 90%. It varies from 0 to 40%. Where we see less drop, so about, you know, China obviously experienced the drop earlier. But countries with massive domestic aviation sectors, they are in a better state. But those that really rely on international travel, like if that's the main composition of their sector, national aviation space, then it's basically, you know, borders shut, etc. It's basically just collapsed. So when we sort of list all the changes that are happening right now and what's sort of emerging, I'd like to look at it in 4 verticals: supply, demand, flexibility, and the touch-free, the emerging value prop. The fact that supply is under construction, like that's, I guess, a very light version of expressing what's happening to supply. It's bankruptcies, consolidations. I think just over the weekend, Latin America's second biggest airline filed for bankruptcy. There's some talk, as you know, of consolidations. Government bailout conversations are happening. We can expect some expanded regulation to protect the aviation sector, as well as it's, you know, it's connected with, it can be connected with bailout conditions. So those are the more commercial corporate changes. What's happening on the airplane side is very indicative and life-changing as well. The grandfathering of old planes, canceled plane orders, and a big shift from carrying people to carrying cargo, and the increasing demand for smaller planes. There's also, you know, a big conundrum about what's going to happen to the middle seat. You know, there's a whole middle seat conversation happening. And when you take the middle seat out, it's you're basically reducing the load factor by 1/3, and you got to increase prices by 50% to make the same amount of money. So what happens to the middle seat is bound to have quite a bit of impact on what price levels we're going to see, fare levels we're going to see in the near future. And also there's the flying cadence is, you know, unknown, and Ryanair is supposed to start operations, and I think different airlines are going to have a different approach. They'll have a different cadence, and it will be very interesting to see how these merge to some extent and what impact it will have on the commercial arrangement between supply and demand. We all know what's happening to demand. We're part of demand. There's little that's positive going on that front. We're either working from home, or there's vast unemployment or lower incomes. There are health fears, lower confidence, and in a way, car is today's plane. You know, car is how we, you know, move or can move about. But of course, this is going to change. The current normal is really defined by, and we've added some new features into the Skyscanner platform. The current normal is flexibility. Whereas until now, flexibility in terms of cancellation, change, you know, anything that fits under flexibility for the flying, you know, experience, it's always had its premium, and now it's for free. It's you know, it's all about either refunds, giving vouchers. I heard one number that's not confirmed, but something like there are $30 billion of vouchers the global you know, airline space right now. I don't know if it's correct. It's something I heard a couple of weeks ago. Travel credit is being given. Fees are waived, expiries are extended, unrestricted cancellation, and free to change. So this is how airlines are really trying to hold on to their customers by saying, please hold on. There will be a time to fly. Just hold on to your ticket. So flexibility is the current normal. And the emerging value proposition is definitely touch-free. It's the health and safety is like the new currency. It's going to be the new currency, at least for some time, until we really forget about all this. So, and this is going to change, of course, the experience, the timing, everything about travel, the touch-free boarding, distance boarding, cleaning airplanes pre-flying, the touch-free bathrooms, etc. So this is going to be what people pay for, to be able to get some security and some sense of confidence that they'll, you know, they'll have a COVID-free journey. So the top emerging trend right now, like what we're expecting to see in the short term, is that obviously domestic travel will become life first. And that's definitely already seen in China, for instance. However, China's domestic air travel is only 40% pre-COVID currently. There's one other number I wanted to share with you, but I can't see it right now. What's happening is the scheduled flights are definitely picking up. Like there are plans for maybe 80% pre-COVID levels to have flights, but what's happening is 1/3 of scheduled flights are actually getting canceled. So domestic is picking up, will pick up, because when borders are closed, obviously it's going to be, you know, domestic, but it's definitely nothing close to pre-COVID levels. And then the next indications of life and vibrancy, as you know, many of you may know, it's the bubbles, the regional bubbles. Will Europe be a bubble? New Zealand and Australia is talking about becoming a bubble, or maybe they've already become one. And international is really the big question mark. When we look at, this is 2019 data, global air travel capacity share. So share of seats, 60% is domestic, international is 40%, and within region is 20%, and intercontinental is another 20%. But the revenues, of course, more from international. When we look at top 20 countries with air travel, the top four right here, the top three, United States, China, India, also Brazil, it's heavily dominated by domestic travel. This means that these markets are going to have some vibrancy in the sector. You know, things will be less disrupted there. But European countries such as UK, Germany, Spain, Italy, France, that's obviously where the bigger problem is in terms of industry and airline company viability. So this shift to domestic travel is the one confirmed trend. So what that's actually bringing out is rather than bundling flight with hotel or thinking of those two together, it's car with hotel. How can we bundle that together? So that is sort of shifting to that space. What else? What else we're seeing? Obviously, travel is whatever travel has happened recently. It's been out of obligation, repatriation, etc. We do expect that leisure is definitely going to pick up sooner, and there's a huge question mark about how much business travel can pick up. And for the foreseeable future, it's expected to be silent and in the long term limited, but we will all see. So Skyscanner is doing weekly customer surveys. And I want to share some numbers from the UK Traveller Survey. These surveys are to understand the sentiment of travelers about travel. So what we're sort of seeing is fear is being replaced by caution, and that caution is likely to be replaced, and it is being replaced by longing to travel and really appreciating the past liberties about traveling. And that for certain segments, like travel is going to be a priority, or how to experience travel, that's going to be it's going to become much more meaningful, because we've been deprived. And there's definitely a component of travel becoming a more premium experience. So 25% want to travel more than ever, 75% appreciate the pre-COVID freedom to travel, 64% want to become better travelers, and 29% say they'll be more adventurous, and 12% are openly saying they'll spend more money. Just going a bit deeper into the demand behavior, how it's expected to change on multiple fronts. So of course this is not a linear progression of sentiments and feelings about travel. There will always be some fear, some caution, longing, appreciation, and seeing and experiencing travel as a premium and priority experience. What will drive caution when the health concerns are less? It's definitely expecting a lot of volatility in prices due to zigzag restrictions and the varying degrees of the second wave, third wave of the pandemic. That's going to be so different from market to market. So this volatility would naturally create caution about travel. Something to counteract that, of course, we expect flexibility in fares to continue into the foreseeable future. Something has to balance out this volatility. And there will also be a lot of scrutiny around prices, fees, and fares during the next year or two. There would be a lot of, we're already getting a lot of mini media, requests around about fee levels, price levels. There's a lot of attention on this topic. So this is, I believe it's going to protect travelers to some extent. And while the industry really needs to make margin and money, it cannot be around overcharging or any abusive fee structures, let's say. When we probe, in our surveys, travelers about what they're longing for and how they want to shape their own travel ethos, let's say. Green travel choices are definitely top of mind, and skipping the cities, the more crowded spaces, and finding undiscovered gems. So the content of travel, like the inventory and what people find willing to pay more for, it's definitely going to be impacted. That's our, and that's my you know, what we're reading from the indicators. Travel is likely to become a coveted experience and a premium spend item. This is what we are expecting. Now, I'd like to share, so this is, although I've, you know, put the red marks and the question marks, etc., I want to show to you what we're able to see. You know, the big question, what's happening to flight fares? So I have chosen three routes, three destinations. We have, you know, we're sitting on massive amounts of data, and we have some aggregated trend lines that I'm able to share with you today. The fact that there is supply and demand are still very stunted, and everyone is in a frozen state, really makes these pictures good to look at, but we can't really draw any conclusions from this, because it can't really tell us how things really will be. But I'd like to share with you what the search is. So there are, in each graph, there are two lines. The blue one is 2019, and the red one is 2020. And the query is, which it's behind this Zoom, I'm sorry, this thing, so I'm not, I'll just say it out loud. It's just a sliver of data. And the query is, for travel in December, what is the aggregate average of fares that someone can see traveling from UK to US? So the travel is going to happen in December. 2019 trend line is the fares that travelers were seeing a year ago, let's say, you know, on the 4th of May, what they were seeing a year ago versus what they were seeing last week. And what we see is the fares for 2020, they're actually lower or sort of at par. You know, we see some parity. So I've chosen USA, UAE, and Turkey. And the reason I chose Turkey is because I am from Istanbul. And the reason I chose UAE is it used to be our home because we live there, and US is where I have some family. So this is what I would personally look at to make it personally relevant. And this is basically the return. This parity and lower fares, I pulled this out today actually to see what you know, what the you know, picture looks like. It really surprised me, but it's almost it's non-indicative because we don't know the new rules. And if I looked at the picture for travel in June, it would also be as it's too soon to tell, basically, too soon to tell. But we're going to see, I'm sure if I took a snapshot of 6 other graphs, you know, there are so many routes, obviously, in the world. It is possible that I would come up with 6 charts where the red line is far higher than the blue one. But this is the big question: what will happen to flight fares? It is basically too soon to tell. What we're more interested in, actually, is how can we use this lull period to, we as pricing professionals, not necessarily, not Skyscanner, how can pricing teams prepare? What can we do? So on the left-hand side, I've put down the current challenges and some suggestions for preparation. Just to read them: through heterogeneous rebound, it's going to be so market specific. It will go up and down. There will be resurgence. Things will calm down. So it's going to be a roller coaster. There will be a very different competitive landscape. There will be fewer competitors. The rules of competition, that the cheapest bid can win, that customers are after cheap tickets, etc. Like some of these axioms that we just have accepted, they are bound to change. Legacy forecasts are pretty much useless. Legacy KPIs or targets, they're no longer a guide, at least for the foreseeable future. There are lack of reliable curves and choppy underlying data. And how do we really scale well when all dynamics are disrupted? And maybe last, definitely not least, is when prices are much higher, and because they can be higher and there's low disposable income, what does that do to pricing and revenue management teams? So what we think is we've got to really start from data. We've got to embed COVID into the data and leverage external and contextual components, put that into our data sources. We need to do a lot of testing, learning, and have plan Bs and plan Cs. Internal, within company, intra-company coordination is going to become very important. We've got to revise our models, create guardrails in our algorithms, and we need to redefine success for crisis and success for rebound, change our KPIs. And by making the existing data richer, we should be really after granular and premium pockets, audiences, and building targeted offers and using maybe subscriptions and looking at new pricing models. While this is a great time to digitalize pricing capabilities and increase automation, I do believe that human analytical expertise is going to be extremely useful. It's really time for a good time for pricing professionals to really bring in their creativity into the picture and redesign business models. I'm a big proponent of behavioral pricing. What I've seen during the past 3-4 months in travel, and I'm a novice in travel, is it's almost the industry is, it's designed around, it really caters to the bargain hunter. There's a big assumption that it's the travel audience are bargain hunters. Behavioral pricing, as you know, looks at the full gamut of the pricing experience, and that industry agnostic, product market agnostic. There are 5 decision maker types: the routine buyer, bargain hunter, risk avoider, price acceptor, and the indifferent buyer. Because all the rules are getting, they're going to be revised somehow, with supply being so disrupted and demand shell-shocked. flexibility and health components, the health dimension, they're going to become the new currencies. And I think there's a good opportunity here to shift the travel industry's focus from bargain hunters to all types of decision makers. So let's use this as pricing professionals as an opportunity to change the game the way we think it should change. So this is the end of my presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'd love to get any questions, comments, and hear about your company's experience. Thank you.
All right. What I can do now with Stella, with your permission, I'm going to pick randomly to participants, and then we can get the questions ongoing.
Sure. Shall I stop sharing?
I believe it would be good if we can still put everyone on the share to have you on share mode, so in case the participants need
okay, all right, fine, sure,
something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so those I have just randomly picked it. It will be just introduce yourself. I believe you're German.
Oh, hello, I'm Erjumin.
Hi.
Hi.
Working analyst for Allianz Insurance.
Okay.
And this was really interesting. And it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. We've seen, because I work in financial services, we've seen a completely different impact in the sense of customers can't afford premiums with the whole premium delays and giving holidays, everything. So for us, it's been business as usual, even though the demand's dropped, but we have to show flexibility in customers who can't actually make their regular payments.
Yes. One dimension that I didn't include in this deck, which I think is definitely, it makes it incomplete, is how much ancillaries around insurance, fair lock, travel guarantee, etc. I mean, the boom has already started in travel insurance, and that we really expect to proliferate, become very personalized, and that there would be new products. You guys must be so busy.
Yeah, we're quite, I guess as analysts, you have to see what's going on with all the products and everything and what's happening. Do you actually feed in data from the trends, as in how COVID is? Because I think in the earlier presentation, they were actually capturing all the data and they were trying to predict themselves how this will materialize and whether they could project themselves what the demand is.
Yes, sure. So so people come to us to search. So we definitely have, we're processing the data in terms of what the searches are for, you know, we're tracking the whole search funnel metrics, definitely. But it's very just exploratory and it's timid, because the rules are not out. Like when there's lockdown and borders are closed, it's still so soon. Like, for instance, doing this webinar, like a month from now, we would have actually clearer trends emerging, because the first, we have to see which airlines are going to survive, which ones are going to fly, what's going to happen with the middle seat. Like right now, it's just too soon to make anything of the trends. It's that preliminary. But of course, we're witnessing, we're looking at all sorts of funnel metrics. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But we're still in the eye of the storm, and you guys must be so busy. It's your industries going to boom and boom. A lot of
Um,
opportunities in insurance, travel
yeah,
insurance at least.
it's been, I guess, especially now the FCA, they've released a paper where you have to offer everyone payment delays, and so you have to change your models so you can adapt and make those offers and those processes. And
Yes, such as installments.
yeah,
Yeah.
so originally I think it was offered for mortgages, and they only thought it was applicable for mortgages, but now it's been expanded.
Any big ticket item, I would say, yes, absolutely. This thing has to be made affordable, travel, but it can't be made affordable by just dropping the price. It has to become that something that's more premium, that's less frequent, but it still has to be affordable. And there will be new constructs, so that people can, fly again. But then domestic is always more affordable. So that's a very foundational change.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I have handpicked Erwin. It'd be great if you could introduce yourself and share any takeaways that you have.
I don't know if Erwin is there.
He is there. It's just he's very quiet. Maybe I'll go for somebody else. Okay. Hi, Slavita.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi. Would you like to share any takeaways from today's session?
For me, it was really interesting, especially because I'm working in the automotive industry. So seeing the motto of car is the new plane, it's really nice and an optimistic perspective for us. But still, we are really impacted by what's happening, and the biggest impact is in the demand for new cars and all the projects being put on hold due to these restrictions that we have now. So let's see, but interesting perspective on the pricing and on the new strategy and focusing on all type of buyers.
So, for instance, with cars, with car hire, airport hire is a big, it's big business, big part of the business. So since people are not going to the airports, how to shift the business and the demand? Of course, people should be allowed to travel beyond 1 kilometer of their home. Like things have to move about within the country, but shifting and really surfacing the availability and making it appealing to switch to in-city car hire. That's something that's being talked about. So I don't know the intricacies of car hire, definitely, but it is the natural partner to accommodations, because people will still stay in hotels that qualify to be like safe, clean, whatever enough. So how to get there? You can have your obviously car, but you don't need to go there by plane necessarily. So I think there's some good creative space for car hire to see how to really leverage this period, especially when ride-hailing companies are experiencing extreme blows to their business.
Thank you.
Thank you, Slavita.